Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Real Estate Agent Advantage. My name is Lorne Cooper, and today I am joined by Jaime Willis. Jaime, say hello to the good people.
Hello, hello.
All right, so Jaime, why don't you tell everybody where you work and sort of your background in real estate?
Yeah, sure. I am in Washington, D.C., so I'm licensed in D.C. and Maryland. And I've been in DC for 21 years, and this is my 22nd year. And I've been in real estate for, let me do math real quick. This is my 8th year in real estate. It's the longest I've done anything. This is my third business. My father was a business owner, my grandfather before him, so we come from it honestly. And it's my favorite of the businesses, and that's what I expect to do for the rest of my life.
Excellent. So really quickly, what were those other businesses?
I was a life coach, so I ran a coaching and professional development company for teachers and principals. I did that for 4 or 5 years, and I ran a test prep company before that. And before that, I was an attorney. So
Okay, you've had a
before
journey
that, I
for
was in
sure.
school.
Before that, I was born. Yeah, gotcha. No problem. Awesome.
Yes.
So let's dig into why real estate. What got you started in real estate in the first place? How did it even come on the radar?
I have always really liked houses. So that's just always been something I enjoyed. And when I was sort of wrapping up my life coaching business, a friend of mine was a realtor and she was really busy and wanted some help. And I said, yeah, I think I can pass that test. I've spent 5 years prepping people for taking tests. So I said, let me pass the test and I'll come work for you for a year and see if I like it. And yeah, I really liked it. Way more. I anticipated that was going to be a placeholder while I figured out what I wanted to do next. Not that it was going to be the start of something kind of extraordinary for me. So yeah, I sort of lucked into it.
Excellent. So you had the advantage, if you will, of having a friend in the business. And that friend, how long was that friend in the business when you came in?
She had been in a couple of years before, 2 or 3 years before I started working with her. Yeah.
And were you guys in like a team or partnership sort of scenario or
Yeah, she was definitely like willing to help train me about the basics of real estate. And then, yeah, in exchange for me helping her like deal with all of the extra business she had.
nice problem to have, right?
Yeah, it is a nice problem to have.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about your journey in real estate. Now you're in real estate, it's day one. How do you go from getting your license to doing regular business? What were you taught?
Yeah,
What worked? What didn't work?
yeah. I think what was really helpful for me, which was again just kind of lucky, is that I had been doing public facing jobs and working for myself for the previous 14 years in the same city. So I already had a really good set of contacts to work from. And the positions that I'd had prior to real estate were ones where people really trusted me. So that I'm providing them advice and expertise in a way that they really trust what I'm telling them. So I literally got licensed. Made a Facebook post and said, "Hey, by the way, I'm now a licensed realtor," and I got like 3 clients I think that week from people who had. One of my very first clients was somebody who I had tutored her daughter 2 businesses ago
Oh, really?
when her daughter was getting ready to go to college. And she was like, yeah, she's in grad school now. I don't need this big house. Let's sell the house and buy a condo. And I had just gotten started. And she was like, yeah, I know you'll work it out. You'll figure it out. And I think that was really helpful, having a list of contacts that just knew I would figure it out.
Absolutely. So beyond those first three transactions, which is amazing from, your initial post of, hey, I'm a realtor, and then all of a sudden that's great.
Yeah.
But beyond that, how did you start building it into an actual business?
I think over the years I've tried a bunch of different things. So I think in that first year I did a lot of like barbecues at my house. So I would invite a group of people over, and just say like once a month, let's have a barbecue in my backyard and chat. And I would get business from doing that, and just interacting with people. I did BNI, business networking. I did that for a little while just to have another referral base
Sure.
for that. Yeah, I think I've focused a lot more on like personal connections versus like farming or postcard or creating an email whatever newsletter. It was much more about trying to interact one-to-one with people.
So networking and creating personal relationships.
Yeah, yeah,
Excellent.
or just continuing the personal relationships I'd already had with people.
Okay. So when
Yeah.
it comes to those barbecues, because I love barbecue, I got to ask about barbecue. Uh, when it comes to those barbecues, how was it structured? Were you inviting, the same people every time, different people every time? How many people? Was it under the guise of real estate at all, or was it just let's get together for a barbecue?
Yeah. I was calling them like family dinners. So I was inviting a wide group of people and seeing who could show up
Okay.
to those dinners. And then, yeah, just interacting with people, not being like, here's my spiel, let's talk about real estate. Um, you know, uh, People would ask me because I've just been doing it, or, they'd bring up a real estate question and I'd answer. But yeah, that was pretty much it.
Okay. And sorry, how many people roughly would show up to these?
Um, I think the low was maybe like 5 or 6 people, and the high was maybe 25 or 30.
Okay.
Yeah,
Excellent. That's a lot of
yeah,
people to have and to handle at once, but you're also serving as a sort of conduit to bring people together and create new connections
yeah,
amongst themselves, right?
yep,
So
that's right.
that's great. That's a natural, organic way of doing things. So you had mentioned that now give people a snapshot of what your business looks like today.
Yep. So last year, I did 55 sides. I would say, I don't know you. I don't know unless I look at the numbers, but maybe 80% of those buyers, 20% of those sellers, um, and 37 million plus or minus in business,
Okay.
um, which puts me in the top 150 in our area. Because I think, I hear some people do like a million sides, and you're like,
All right.
but everything is $50,000, or they do 12 sides, but everything is $20 million. So it's helpful to know how it relates to the market I'm in.
Right, absolutely. So, with regard to that, you said that it was about 20% listings, 80% buyers. And
Yeah.
that's just sort of how it comes in because your business is built, you had mentioned in the brief um, interaction we had before this, that is broken down into kind of three different sort of subcategories, right? Like it comes from.
Hmm.
So, why don't we dig into that a little bit and tell everyone where is your business coming from?
Yeah. Well, it's buyers because that's my preference. And I think it's a unique one among realtors. I think most people try to eliminate the buyer side of their business as quickly as they can and get into listings. And I really enjoy working with buyers. And I think I bring an expertise to buyers that they appreciate as well, that they're getting, somebody who's experienced and knows how to negotiate and all that stuff. I would say in the categories of my business, it's past clients. So people who are buying again. It is referrals from those past clients. That's probably the biggest bucket. And then referrals from other agents. The same reputation that I built for my own clients, I've built in my community of colleagues, where they know if they can't serve a client, either location wise or, just time wise, that I'm going to do a great job. And by transference, their reputation is going to be still intact, having referred the business to me. So I get a decent amount of agent referrals from folks. who just want to know that their people are taken care of.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. That's a source that's often overlooked by a lot of realtors is agent to agent referrals. Now, question, are these agents that are in your market right now, or they're outside of your market?
Yeah.
They're in your market.
Uh,
That's very unique.
most of the agents are inside my market. Yeah. So
Okay.
they're asking me to do business in a neighborhood that they're not as familiar with, or they're asking me to do business because they're busy and want, they feel like, there's too many buyers. I know Jamie's great with buyers. Let me give her one of my buyers.
Hmm.
Yeah, wide variety of regions.
And
We're
how does
not
that
allowed
typically work?
in our markets to double side, especially on the Maryland side. You can't do both sides of the transaction. So
Okay.
you'll get that referral for, it's my listing. There's a buyer. Can you take the buyer? I know it's going to be an easy transaction if you're representing the buyer because I know how you work and you're ethical and you'll take care of your client, but it'll be, very collaborative.
That's great. Now, how does that work? Is there a referral fee given for that? I don't know because I'm not in a market
Yep.
that does that.
Yep. If for all of the agent referrals I get inside my market or from outside the market, I would pay a referral fee.
Okay. I mean, typically speaking, where I am, it's a 25% referral fee, typically speaking. But on a team situation, it could be anything 50% or whatever,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah.
what is it typically in that
Yeah.
situation?
I think it really it depends on the situation and what the referral is coming from. But I think that sounds yeah,
So it
reasonable.
varies depending on the situation. Okay,
Yeah.
interesting. Because agents are allowed to represent both sides in my market, but it's a very careful, very careful
Yeah.
line that they have to walk. So, okay,
In
great.
in DC, in the city, we're allowed to do it, but you try to do it as little as possible.
Hmm.
And it takes extra care. And it's like I think in the last 8 years, I've done 2 or 3 that way. And it's just having a conversation of like, there's not going to be a lot of negotiation here. And if you want to negotiate, then we should get you separate representation because I'm not in a position to negotiate the terms. So we're just going to kind of agree that these are the terms and everybody likes them and move forward on that. And so
Right.
for most people, they'd rather have somebody who can, separately represent them.
Sure. So for people that are listening that are in a market where you can't represent both sides, it's a great opportunity to network amongst your peers, create those
Yeah.
relationships, especially with agents that are busy and like-minded and sort of ethical and do things well, and you create great relationships, then you can then
Yeah.
create a referral network that way. So,
And I think the same way you think about farming for listings, you can think about farming for buyers. Like people know there's a few neighborhoods that I'm really well known for. And so if they have a buyer client that wants to get in that neighborhood, they know it makes sense to send me that referral because I have connections where I can find things that are off market, or I just know exactly how that market works. And I'm going to have a better chance of winning that deal for the buyer. So I think you can farm that as well. And people are like, oh, yeah, ask Jamie, she'll take care of that one.
excellent. All right. So, aside from the real estate relationships, how are you getting business from past clients? Are you making any kind of effort in terms of you know the amount of touches or communications per year? How does that work for you?
Um, I think any realtor who says they're doing the amount of touches perfectly the way they planned it is lying to you. I think we all have goals and we get very busy and do our best. Uh, I was working for myself the last 2 years, and so it got busy enough in the pandemic that I just couldn't keep up with my marketing, my print marketing. And so one of the reasons that I joined a team this year was because they had a really strong marketing presence, and they have staff on board to help with that. So I'm getting that marketing back up to speed, and I really enjoyed doing that. It's just, there's only so many hours in the day, and I'm always going to prioritize providing great customer service to my clients first. And I think honestly, that is my number one marketing technique, is provide such exceptional customer service that you don't have to market yourself, because the word of mouth is so great about you. And I have several spheres where I have bought or sold every single house in a friend group. And it goes out 2, 3, 4, 5 people deep, because everybody knows that if you're going to buy and sell a house, you have to work with me. And that's really, I think, putting in the hours, making sure all of those details are good for the transaction and afterwards, that helping them solve those problems after they close and, you know, things didn't go the way they wanted.
So let's give an example, because you hear a lot of people talking about giving exceptional service and value and all of that. What does that really look like for you? For especially for the newer agents that are listening that don't really understand, how would you be able to lay it out for them?
Sure. A couple of things that I've done in the last year that have delighted my clients. One is, if I'm working with a buyer side client and there's not a floor plan for the property, a lot of people want that floor plan, and I will pay for the floor plan. So I don't say, hey, it's another couple $100. I just send my floor planner out. I get the floor plan. As a bonus, I have the floor plan for when I sell the house in 5 years or 10 years. I already have that available to me. So it's not money wasted, in my opinion, but it's just like an extra service add that I'm not trying to nickel and dime them when they're already spending a bunch of money on that. A lot of times we'll have a really tight turnaround because sales move really quickly here. So the seller will move out and the buyer needs to move in the same day or the next day. And I always offer to pay for the cleaning, even though it's the seller's responsibility to clean. A lot of my clients just feel comfortable, especially with COVID, knowing that it's extra clean.
Right.
And so I just say, let me send my cleaner over and we'll make sure it's clean. What areas are you concerned about in that final walkthrough? Like, that's just another way to offer service. A third example is about a week before I closed a deal this year, the termite inspection came back with termites, and they had caused significant damage to the basement stair. So we negotiated that with the sellers. The termite service came out and did the treatment. And the treatment that they promised didn't end up coming out the way that my buyers wanted. And so we had the termite service come out, I think 2 or 3 times in follow up to try to get them the treatment, even after closing. And my clients were still not satisfied with the care that service was taking. And I said, what would make you totally satisfied with the outcome of this? I said, would it be helpful if we hired a different company? And they said, yeah, it would be really helpful. I'm like, go ahead and hire the company and tell me what they say. And they said, yeah, it's going to be another $800. And I said, sure, send me your Venmo. And I paid for that second service because I want them to be totally delighted with the house and not have, especially at the end of the transaction, because that's what you're leaving them with. I want them to feel like I went above and beyond, and and I said, we're going to close on this on time, but that doesn't mean I'm letting go of this thing that you're worried about. So I think those kind of things, that $800 spent is marketing for me, and it'll produce dividends from a client who is like, she never stopped working until I was satisfied.
Great examples. Great examples. All right. Now you also talked about, so we talked about realtor to realtor referrals, talked about past clients and sort of your database, right? Those are the 3 main areas. Now you also talked about, briefly, you threw it in there, that you joined a team last year.
Yes.
Okay.
This year,
this year,
a week and a half ago.
A week and a half ago. All right. So announcing it to the world right now.
Yes. Yes.
All right. So a lot of people will be surprised to hear that someone who's doing well will join a team. And quite often it's because of lifestyle. more than anything else, or a support, right?
Yeah.
So why don't you go into that a little bit, and so that people understand why you might want to consider joining a team, even as a successful agent.
Yep. So last year, my broker offers transaction coordinator services. So you can pay per deal to have a transaction coordinator. And I had that for every deal. And obviously, huge lifesaver to have that help. But there's a whole bunch of stuff that doesn't quite fall into the transaction services bucket that you still need help with, like getting your postcards out and things like that. And so in October, I said, okay, I'm going to hire a full-time assistant, which as a solo agent is so, I think so many people feel this, it's so stressful because now there's a salaried person that's depending on you 100%.
Right.
And so I had not done that for a long period of time because I was concerned about that. And I was like, I'm doing plenty of business. I can totally afford this. I should do it. And then I hired that assistant. And what I realized is I don't have the bandwidth, nor do I have the desire to train up somebody to be a successful assistant.
Right.
And the best assistants we have in our market have been working on teams for 10 years, right? And they are just smart and they're totally aware, and you cannot steal them from anybody. And so I said to myself, I could be spending a ton of time investing in this assistant, but instead of it helping me this first year, it's actually my business is going to slow down because
Right.
I'm spending this time trying to train somebody up. Or I could pivot and join a team who already has a well-trained staff, and then just take advantage of the training that's already been done, and have a few little tweaks that I personally want for my business, and keep growing it, and that's where ultimately I thought this makes the most sense.
Excellent. So give us a little idea of what the structure of the team is. How many people are in the team? How long have they
Yep.
been around?
Carmen is the team leader, Carmen Fantasia, and she has been around for 20 years. She's a fantastic agent. She works like the next neighborhood over from me. So we've already done a lot of business together. She has, including me now, 8 agents on her team. And a really great mix of people who are veterans, who do a really nice amount of business every year, and people who are newer that have the bandwidth to take up the slack when you need showing assistance or somebody to cover an inspection or an open house, which I also appreciated about her team, that, there's that breadth in there. And then she has 3 staff on board. So transaction manager, a transaction coordinator, and a full-time marketing coordinator. And so those are, key positions to have for a team, and they're all really well trained. And I met actually with the staff when I was deciding whether or not to join the team. So I met with Carmen, but also with all 3 of the staff, because that was the big value add for me. And so I wanted to make sure that was a great fit, and it was.
And who approached who first? Did you approach them or did they approach you?
Carmen approached me first, and earlier in the year, and I was like, oh, I'm going to find an assistant. And then she approached me again, and I was like, yeah, let's talk.
It's the right time.
Yeah, it's the right time. So I do a good amount of business, and because I was solo, I think I get heavily recruited every year for the past several years to
Most of us
join
are.
somebody, join a brokerage, join whatever.
Yeah.
And I dismiss most of them, but I think this year was the year that I was like, actually, I can see some value for both of us in this. And so, yeah, let's find a way to make it work.
Excellent. Well, congratulations on the move.
Thank you. I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm
All right.
excited.
So let's talk about, you know, in wrapping up, when you're talking about, let's say you had a niece or a nephew that was starting real estate somewhere across the country, and they were looking to you for advice because there was, no one that they knew where they were. What would you tell them to get started, to get off the ground running?
Um, I think three things. Number one, I love ninja selling. I think that's the sales method that's most um, like me, in that it's a relationship business and not
Right.
just how many cold calls can you do or whatever. So I would say go to an installation of ninja selling. I've been to four or five, and they're the same. The installation does not change, and every time you are just like so much data you get, that you learn every time. So I would definitely say do one of those. It's really valuable, and they give you just a ton of tools to work and get started.
And you can read and
And
or
then
listen to the book as well to get an introduction to what that's all about.
yeah, yeah, I find it very valuable if you want to build a relationship based business.
Hmm.
And then I think start interacting, and providing value to the people that are in your sphere. So whether it's barbecues, or information, one of the things I did last year was I wrote a book. So this is
Nice.
my buyer guide, and it's free. Like I don't sell these; I just hand them out to clients, and it's like, what are all the ways that you can provide value? And when you have a lot of extra time, you have time to do stuff like that to build value. And the third thing I say, not enough people spend time in the data of their market. So I have a bunch of data driven strategies, which takes time to go through the MLS, download all the data, and say, what is the average price over a list that these houses have gone? And what is it per zip code? And what is it for these kinds of houses versus these kinds of houses? When you're just starting, you have a ton of time to look at that data, and you don't have to have sold 100 houses to be an expert. You just have to have the data at your fingertips to help provide that information to your clients. So, be learning all the time, and you're going to be able to be an asset even if you're new.
And maybe even join a team or find a mentor, where you are.
Yes. Yeah. I think it's really hard. I was older when I started in real estate, and I still started with another person, and I would not recommend anybody start on their
Yeah,
own. I
it's
think
challenge.
joining a team in the first year is so invaluable, just because you get to rub shoulders and see what people are doing and see what you like about what they're doing and what you don't like about what they're doing, and have somebody to ask questions, especially the dumb ones you need answers to when you first start. And you're like, I don't know, what is this? Like, what does this part in the contract actually mean? Like, they didn't tell us what that is.
Right, good point.
So,
Good
yeah,
point.
I think that's invaluable.
Excellent. So definitely check out Ninja Selling, that whole vibe. Also, Seven Levels of Communication is another one where it's a very similar kind of mindset. It's all about building relationships and the value you can provide
Yeah,
in through that.
yeah,
And so much business can come naturally from creating those networks and those relationships and just giving value, right?
yeah. I think so. I think so. I think being a real person, I've told people I don't do sales. I don't like sales. I'm
Hmm.
not a salesperson. I my job is to be an advisor and an expert, in my area, not sales. So I think if you feel the same way, where you don't want to feel like you're in a used car, lot every time you're out there doing business, having a relationship based business is the best way to go.
And is there a way that you keep track? Do you use a database, a CRM of some sort?
Yeah. Yep. I this entire time have done everything on Google Sheets.
Okay.
And on this team, they are now converting me into a CRM. So I'm working my way. Probably in the next couple of months, I'll get everything sorted, for the CRM and put into the CRM and go for that. And I think it's invaluable. Just it's easier when you start in the CRM to keep it up. And if you start in an Excel file or a Google Sheets, it's easier to do that. But whatever you do, you should have the data and keep up with it. So I did that the whole time, and I would recommend that however you're going to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And people always ask, what's the best CRM to use? It's the one that you're going to use. I say find something
Yeah.
that's simple, that's not too convoluted. It's great if they have all the bells and whistles, but find something that's simple and
Yeah.
easy that you can use on a daily basis to put in all the information and retrieve all the information. That's the one that's going to do the best job for you, I think.
Yeah, that's right. And it doesn't have to be, it can just be a list.
Yeah.
One of the things Ninja has you do is you literally a paper list of people and like go down your list to call. Like, it does not have to be tech savvy if that's not what you're into.
Do you make it a point to reach out and touch everybody in your sphere, or reach out and call people certain amounts of times, or is it just naturally occurring with the things and events that you do?
The best version of me,
Yes.
regularly, the best version of me keeps track and tries to touch everybody. Like, oh, I haven't talked to them. Let's, and I do a fair amount of texting or a quick email. I don't always do a phone call, just whatever feels organic, even a Facebook, I'm friends with them on Facebook, and I'll just be like, hey, I was thinking about you, or respond to a post that they've done on Instagram or something like that. And hopefully that comes back. This last year was too crazy. That I answer everything that's given, all of the interactions that I have, but I didn't spend a ton of time proactively reaching out because we were already going through a fire hose of clients last year.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of people were feeling the same way. We'll see how the market turns and what 2022 has in
Yeah,
store.
it's going to be interesting, right? It's going to
Definitely.
be interesting. I think we're all hoping it'll be a little bit less insane,
Well,
you
I mean,
know?
it's a little bit different in every market, right? But overall, North America has just been insane. And I think a balanced market is really the healthiest market that we can hope for everyone. So we shall see.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see.
Exactly.
Looking
So,
forward to it.
Jamie, if people want to reach out to you and maybe they've got people coming to your area, why don't you tell them how to get in touch?
Sure. You can reach me. The fastest way to reach me is by my phone number. I don't know, we can put it down or however you do it, but 202-494-1325. My email address, I check email once a day, Jaime, Jaime @compass.com. And I'm also on Instagram at DCRLTR, like realtor without vowels. So at DC Realtor, you can find me on Instagram.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your experience and your wisdom with everybody today, Jamie. I really appreciate it. Everyone out there,
Yeah,
thanks for checking it out. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you guys on the next episode. Thanks, Jamie.
thank you. Bye-bye.